Hey, buddy, welcome to another edition of the Wolfpacker Show. I'm Matt Carter, joined as always by Ethan McDowell, and we got a big home opener to preview here. Notre Dame, number 10 in one poll, number 11 in the other. I don't recall which is which, but they're borderline top 10, one of the premier brand names in all of college football. And so, obviously, a lot to talk about for this Saturday's game. But before we do that, let's get a couple of housekeeping items out of the way. First off, wherever you may get your podcast, Spotify, Google, wherever, please take the time if you're listening to us to follow us and to give us a review, give us a rating, helps us out. And also, if you are watching this episode on the Wolfpacker's YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Wolfpacker, which is our handle for any of our social media accounts, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter /X, and YouTube. You can all get it at the handle The Wolfpacker. Hey, big news, by the way. On3 has extended the 50% off for a year deal just because of the Notre Dame game. Hey, when you're on national television on ABC, you get the prime treatment. A lot of recruiting news this week. We'll talk about a commitment NC State picked up later in the episode, but could be more coming. And Ethan had a list of a lot of big-time visitors expected for the Notre Dame game. So sign up for the website, see what's going on with the football recruiting. You get a year's subscription. So that takes you through the football season. That takes you through basketball season, through signing day, through silly season in basketball, through the summer recruiting months in football when all the activity really heats up. So it's really foolish not to take advantage of that deal. So last but not least, please support our sponsor, RogueShop.com. That's ROG as in girl, UESHOP.com. They have all your natural cannabis product needs, whether it's you may be struggling with some sleep deprivation or anxiety, or perhaps you have some chronic pain related issues. These are legal products, they're safe products, easy to use. It's a small company, a husband and wife outfit. The husband's a disabled veteran. They have a live chat feature on their website, which can help point you to the right direction of what products might best help you, help with some of your ailments. So give them a try and give them your support. All right, let's get to it, Ethan. NC State 1-0, beat Connecticut. UConn, I guess they prefer to be called UConn, 24-14. You were there. You're back from your trip to UConn. You won't have to go as far this week. Notre Dame done a ton of traveling back and forth from Dublin, Ireland, and they also hosted Tennessee State. They played Navy in Ireland, and they've won their two games by a combined score of 5,000-2. Exaggerating, but not far. It's been a bloodbath in both of those games. So, no, I'll be honest, Notre Dame looked awfully impressive when I watched them. I saw some of both games. But, man, what can you take away from that? That's trying to be as respectful as you can to Navy, but that's a rebuilding team, and Tennessee State, which is, I believe, an FCS opponent. What do we know about Notre Dame? Other than they handle business very impressively when they should.
Yeah, I mean, I think even though it was against not the best opponents, I think it's fair to take away that Sam Hartman looks very comfortable at quarterback for them right now. He's completing 82.5% of his passes right now, I believe. And it's just complementing a really deep and powerful rushing attack really well. And it's also very obvious that they have one of the best offensive lines in the country. That unit is making Sam Hartman and the running backs' jobs pretty easy because they have wide open holes to run through and a lot of time to sit in the pocket. So it's going to be far and away one of the best teams that NC State faces this year, especially one of the better offenses, in my opinion. NC State knows Sam Hartman well. But we talked to Tony Gibson today, and he emphasized that it is a completely different deal now that Hartman is no longer at Wake Forest. These are two completely different offenses. So I think we know more about the offense than we know about the defense, if that makes sense. The defense has not been tested, really. We'll have to see how, they handle, we only have one game worth of defense against a non-triple option offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was against an FCS team.
Yeah.
So we go into this game not knowing much about the defense. Some initial impressions about the offensive that have been very positive. Yeah, we'll just have to see how NC State matches up in a few days.
Yeah. And you're right about Notre Dame. It's always been huge up front, and they have one of the best left tackles in the country in Joe Alt, 6'8", 320 plus pounds, a consensus first-team All-American in all the preseason lists. I think he's been starting. I think this is his 24th straight start in a row at left tackle for Notre Dame. Left guard, it's over 6'5", 303. The center, 6'3", 306. Right guard, over 6'4", 314. The right tackle, 6'6", 315. And they're all juniors or older. Although one technically a sophomore, redshirt sophomore. But they have all been in college football for 3 or more years. I think that probably is the number one matchup you're watching for. I noted in scouting Notre Dame, winning in the trenches may be a tall challenge for NC State this weekend, but perhaps Brennan Armstrong might be the ideal quarterback in a game like this, because what we saw against UConn, which we talked about, is that ability to escape pressure and to create with his feet. I think if you remove the sack, I want to say 13 out of 18 runs Brennan Armstrong had went for at least 5 yards. And you heard Robert and I's quote-unquote press conference on Tuesday. He mentioned that there may have to be an efficient offense on first and second down. That may be the identity of this team. We'll dive into defending Sam Hartman in a minute, but Brennan Armstrong told me after practice Wednesday, the goal for the offense is to score 31 points. That's the goal. He felt like they could have scored 31 against UConn. Just had a couple of drives stalled that would have otherwise he feels confident they should have scored on. What do you want to see out of NC State's offense against Notre Dame's defense? And let me just say real quickly, because I know you're a big Marcus Freeman fan, a defensive coach, been a defensive coach. He was a brilliant defensive coordinator rising through the ranks before he got the job at Notre Dame. Former linebacker, they are aggressive. They will blitz. They will blitz often. And they're one of the more disruptive defenses you'll see. They like to get sacks. They were among the country's leaders in sacks. They're one of the leaders right now in tackles for losses, albeit very, very young season. How would you like to see NC State offensively maybe attack Notre Dame?
Yeah, I think it would be foolish to expect, a road grading, like 4 yards in a cloud of dust, 20 carries for Jordan Houston type game here. I think NC State's going to have to rely on a lot of really what they did a good bit against UConn, which is just the quick passing game as almost a substitute for the running game. I've mentioned that a few times in our podcast recently. Your quick 5-6 yard outs to Kevin Concepcion and, quick slants to Keon Lassane and just, keeping the ball moving. Like Robert and I said, the identity of this offense might have to be through being efficient on those early downs. And I think that's going to be crucial. I think the offensive line pass protected well against UConn, gave Armstrong some decent time to throw for most of that game. But I think, Notre Dame's a completely different challenge. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be really tough to get in those third and long situations and have to match up against some really, really talented defensive linemen and linebackers. And like you say, they play aggressive. The good news is they practice against one of the most aggressive defenses in the country every day. So they have an idea of what's coming with that, and you have a very experienced signal caller in Brennan Armstrong, who he's played heavy blitz and defenses with subpar offensive lines before, so he'll have a chance to with hopefully a healthier offensive line against Notre Dame. We'll have some more success, some more time to throw, and we'll be able to generate some yards through the air.
Yeah, you mentioned the healthier. We should note that there is the expectation is that Lyndon Cooper, the redshirt sophomore, who was expected to be a starting guard, should be available for this game. He was dressed out. He was in uniform. He was in full uniform, pads and everything that they sort of went through the get him through warm up just to get him the feel for a pregame warm up, get the routine so that it's not kind of foreign to him against Notre Dame. On the depth chart listed with an or with Anthony Carter Jr., I should say, at the left guard position. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on that NC State may not have had and did not have in that first game. Another interesting thing, UConn kind of played back on coverage. Ethan, you were there. I mean, when you recall, was it pretty soft coverage from UConn, more of a bend but don't break, keep everything in front of you, not give a lot of opportunities downfield? Is that, from your vantage point from the press box? By the way, how good was the press box at UConn, first of all? And second of all, is that what you saw from your perspective?
Yeah, I'll first say, I think the coverage was a little soft. They were playing off a bit, which I thought was an interesting strategy. I think I almost would have leaned towards trying to make NC State beat you deep after what they showed last season in terms of just not, having those explosive plays on offense. And for that reason, NC State fans were pretty freaked out about, oh my gosh, there were not many deep passing plays, not many explosive plays. I think some of that was just UConn, keeping everything in front of them. And obviously you still want to see more explosive plays than we saw last Thursday, but I think part of that was Jim Mora kind of scheming that up. As far as their press box goes, it was pretty good. They had I was in the second row, but the view was still very nice, still clear line of sight. And our pregame meal, most stadiums give you a pregame meal, by the way, for all those listening. I think UNC is the only one I've been to that doesn't. But UConn served barbecue, which I thought was a funny choice, being the only game outside of
Wait, was it vinegar or ketchup or mustard? Could you tell?
I couldn't even tell. It was, as someone who lived in New England for a few years, typical, New England barbecue, in my opinion. But it was fine, and appreciate the hospitality by UConn a bunch. And and we got to go down on the field for pregame warmups, which was a lot of fun. We got to that's where I saw Lyndon Cooper warming up, and it was like fully dressed out, like ankle tape and everything, going through the full pregame warmups, and he was moving well. I think it probably was more of a precaution thing, if I had to guess, in terms of keeping him out. But so
I was there. We mentioned the UConn coverage. The reason why I bring that up is because that was something else Brennan Armstrong kind of confirmed, that Notre Dame will be playing a lot of press man-to-man coverage. So when you do that, that may actually open up some opportunity to take some more shots versus what we saw against UConn, who was not playing man coverage much at all. That's the difference of bringing only 4, which UConn tended to do, to being a more aggressive, get after it defense that Notre Dame might be inclined to be against NC State. By the way, Notre Dame defensive coordinator may be a name that sounds familiar to NC State fans, Al Golden. Went to head coach at Temple until he got the head coaching job at Miami. I don't remember how long he lasted at Miami, but it wasn't very successful tenure for the Hurricanes. And a former Tom O'Brien assistant coach, so there's another little connection to NC State. So, all right, now a lot of people are probably going to be more focused on the matchup on the other side of the football. But before we get to that, let me take a brief moment here to give a shout out to another great supporter of the Wolfpacker. And listen, if you're listening to this game, to this podcast or watching this podcast, you know that Game Time has been a great supporter of us, and we're very big fan of them because they can hook you up. If you're looking to get to this game, and believe me, it is packed. It's sold out. I know NC State's already trying to get the word out about downloading your tickets before you leave the house. There's going to be some construction around the area to plan for all of that because they are anticipating an incredible crowd and an incredible environment. And if you want to be a part of that and you don't got tickets and you've been tempted, your best option is Game Time. And I'm going to show for those who are watching on YouTube, I'm pulling up my phone right there. Look, those are the NC State games right there. You can see, I believe the second one is NC State Notre Dame. There, all right. There you can see there. They got all the best. Let's see it. I know Ethan looked at it earlier. The cheapest available ticket right now is $85. Best deal is $87 to get a little bit better seat for almost the same price. They got some others for $89, but a lot of them are around $100. If you're worried about the price, the cheapest you're going to find is with Game Time for two reasons. One, they guarantee that you'll get the lowest price, or they will refund you 110%. One of the best things about this. Also, if you have not downloaded the app, do so and use the promo code Wolfpack, all capital letters, and you'll get $20 off your first order. So, yeah, that makes the guaranteed lowest price even lower. So it's just a stress-free way to get tickets, not only the NC State game, but I had it on the Raleigh-Durham area. So if for some reason you want to do a doubleheader and go to Chapel Hill and see if Appalachian State can beat UNC, you saw there were tickets available for that as well. So go to gametime.co, not .com, but .co, gametime.co. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Wolfpack, all capital letters, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Wolfpack for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest priced, guaranteed. All right. Also guaranteed is that Sam Hartman probably circled this game on the Notre Dame schedule. Sam Hartman played for Wake Forest, went 1-2 as a starting quarterback for Wake Forest against NC State. Had a couple games where he threw 3 interceptions. Number one in Carter Finley Stadium. You know, I know Wake Forest NC State doesn't scream classic rivalry, but those have been emotional games the last 3 or 4 years. I mean emotional games. They have been fired up games. And I don't think there was a game where Sam Hartman played NC State where there wasn't something on the line or some kind of impact or some kind of emotional attachment to the game. And Wake Forest takes that NC State game very seriously because they don't get to play UNC every year. I don't know how much they get up for playing Duke every year. I feel like NC State is one of those games that Wake Forest takes most seriously on the schedule. And Sam Hartman hasn't gotten all of Wake Forest out of him. So, Sam Hartman wants to do well. What do you think? What do you think NC State has to do defensively against Sam Hartman? Because we know Notre Dame runs well, but now they have a complementary passing attack to go with it.
I think obviously I covered the Wake Forest game last year, and one thing I noticed was Sam Hartman's willingness to challenge NC State's defensive backs. I think some throws that other quarterbacks maybe wouldn't make because you have Aiden White and Shaheem Battle guarding your receivers, Sam Hartman's willing to make and willing to let his receivers go make plays. Sometimes that worked, and sometimes it didn't. I believe Aiden White had 1 interception in that game. Last year, I forget who had the others. But, I think Aiden White and Shaheem Battle are going to have to play their A game, maybe even A-plus game. They're 2 really good corners. UConn tried to throw at Aiden a little bit early. I don't know if you noticed that, just on like a couple quick routes last week.
Yeah, I
And
think they
then,
were taking advantage of a little off coverage.
yeah. But then
But
after that, I don't know if Aiden made an adjustment or UConn changed up how their offense was operating, but I don't remember hearing Aiden White's name much for the rest of that game. Same with Shaheem. But so they need to be on their A+ game. And NC State this is a good offensive line for Notre Dame, but they have to get pressure. They have to. This is the time for that defensive line, which Tony Gibson praised so heavily in the preseason. It needs to show up. It needs to be able to create those lanes for blitzes from the linebackers and defensive backs. And hopefully getting Savion Jackson back will help a lot in that regard as well. And yeah, just, it's not as much defending Sam Hartman as I think just keeping Notre Dame behind the sticks a little bit as well, force them into passing scenarios, because this rushing attack is something serious. And you can't just give Sam Hartman all these high percentage passes in short yardage situations, because he's not going to miss many of them.
According to Pro Football Focus, UConn was 3 or 4 passing against Aiden White, but the key number is it's only 19 yards.
Yeah.
And most important, only 2 yards after the catch, which is what I noticed is Aiden White, gave a little bit of maybe a couple of yards cushion, but he immediately made the tackle. So averaging just a hair over 6 yards to catch. And then pass breakup on the one attempt that was actually a little bit downfield. Aiden White got a pass breakup on it. They only targeted Shaheem Battle once on a 16-yard pass, and it was incomplete. But as I noted, Connecticut is not equipped to challenge NC State pass defense in the secondary. That's the weakness of Connecticut offensively, and that's what's going to hold them back and why they might struggle to score on good defense, because they actually do have a very credible, especially for their level, rushing attack. And Notre Dame is statistically very similar to Connecticut, just probably at a higher level of scheduling and talent. But if you look at their numbers last year, very similar to UConn in terms of both commitment to running the football. I think, if I remember correctly, Notre Dame was 21st in average carries per game last year. And I believe they were in the 30s in average rushing yards per game last year. So they were committed to running the football. And they got big running backs. The primary running back goes almost 6 foot, 227. Almost ran for 1,000 yards last year. He's on pace already for 1,000 yards this year. But the difference is last year they could not complement the running game consistently with the pass. And they actually were rated about 20 spots lower than NC State in passing yards per game. And we all remember what NC State went through from a quarterback standpoint last year, which is where I think the Sam Hartman excitement comes in. Yeah, Sam Hartman's a phenomenal quarterback. He was an all-ACC level quarterback, so I'm not trying to put anything away. But I do think some of this excitement is natural because they have been craving good quarterback, elite quarterback level play at Notre Dame for a while. And Sam Hartman gave them instant credibility. From the games I saw, Ethan, you can give me your impression, but from the games I saw, he was just playing catch out there with the receivers. I mean, there wasn't really a lot of challenging throws that he had to make against the Navies in Tennessee State. So that would be the curiosity for me. In this pro-style offense with perhaps more challenging throws to make, where you're not living off the mess like Wake Forest. I shouldn't say living, because I don't think Wake Forest runs the mess quite as much as people think. They do run it a lot, that slow mess, but it's not exclusive. But without that constant play action threat, I am curious to see how Sam Hartman will do in a pro-style attack, trying to get the football to his receivers in a more tighter window. And let's not forget, I'm not so sure Wake Forest didn't have better wide receivers than Notre Dame does.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to push back a little on the playing catch part. I thought he had some really impressive throws against Navy. Yeah. I thought he fit the ball into a couple really tight windows. But I've followed Sam for his entire college career, and I'm a huge fan of his as a quarterback. But yeah, I think it's not that big of a leap at all to say that Wake Forest's receivers last year were a little more talented than Notre Dame's core this year. But I will add that we've talked a lot about the battle in the trenches. That's going to be important. NC State getting pressure and keeping Notre Dame out of its own backfield. But for the same reasons, I think it's going to be equally important who can win those one-on-one battles outside and at the skill positions, because there's going to be a lot of battles at those skill positions, just one-on-one matched up on an island. That's where Aiden White and Shaheem Battle love to be. They've said it themselves. They'll be tested there. And Notre Dame has some tall receivers that, former highly rated recruits that have the talent to beat them. So we'll see how those matchups go. And then they have two really, really explosive slot receivers, which is actually one of the key matchups I'm going to be looking for is Robert Kennedy, who played every snap against UConn at nickel for NC State. He kind of just locked down his side of the field. I believe he gave up maybe one short completion, and that's about it.
1 or 2 passing for 6 yards, only 3 yards after the catch.
So. Yeah, and we talked to him today, and he said he just he didn't really get tested that much. UConn didn't really try him that much last week. I think that'll change in the upcoming week. So, early impressions from him are really positive. He'll probably need to have a good game, a big game. And Notre Dame always has good tight ends, maybe 2 or 3 of them. So, the safeties, linebackers, whoever has to match up on those tight ends, they're going to have their hands full. And it's just going to be a lot of one-on-one matchups. It's going to, I think it'll be a gut check for NC State's skill position guys defensively, and that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and also on that offensive line, if there is a question mark, both of the starting guards are newcomers to the line. They have an excellent tackle combination with Joe Alt at left tackle, Blake Fisher at right tackle. The center, G.K. Corral, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, has a lot of experience as well. But Pat Coogan at left guard and Rocco Spindler at right guard are guys who made their first career starts against Navy. So can NC State maybe get some disruption up the middle and maybe cause some confusion for those young guys up the middle and get some pressure right up Sam Hartman's face? That was actually one of the issues I was asked earlier this week about Sam Hartman. Being fair, he has struggled against NC State in his career. He's thrown 3 interceptions in back-to-back games. One of the things I pointed out was I think part of it is NC State caught Sam Hartman on good days if you're an NC State perspective. I think 2 years ago when they played in Winston-Salem and the division was on the line, Hartman didn't throw the ball well that game. I remember walking out of the stadium with an NC State reporter, and we were talking about it. If you had told us Hartman was going to throw the football like that, we would have thought NC State could win the game. They ended up losing by 3 on an onside kick recovery, was ruled to be about 9.9 yards instead of 10. And NC State couldn't get one more chance at it. Last year, NC State beat Wake Forest. Both times, NC State held Wake Forest to some of their lower productions all season long. As I said, Hartman threw 3 interceptions, but I think he was off in Winston-Salem. Do you remember last year, Ethan? The game against Louisville, I think he had how many turnovers right before he played NC State? Remember that disastrous second half where they were just turning it over on almost literally every possession? And I know he threw 3 interceptions. I want to say he lost a few fumbles.
I want to say it was 6 or 7 total turnovers for the team. I don't remember how many were Hartman's, but it was a rough day for them for sure.
Yeah, and then first series against NC State, he throws another interception. He had 3 that game. But part of the issue that was a credit to NC State was they were able to get pressure on Hartman in that game. And they really were able to get to Sam Hartman quite a bit. Will that be the case here with Notre Dame, which unquestionably probably had a better offensive line than Wake Forest does? And Notre Dame also probably a bigger commitment to running the football than Wake Forest, because Wake Forest knew what they had, which was an incredible receiving core and an accurate quarterback and a unique offense, and they wrote it. This is going to be more pro-style traditional, as Tony Gibson noted in his availability today. So it's going to be very interesting matchup. I'm going to be interested to see how Notre Dame approaches it from a run-pass balance standpoint as well, because I thought UConn showed some ability to run the football against NC State last week. Does Notre Dame tried to build off that, and also Savion Jackson for NC State supposed to be back this week. What kind of impact does that have on the defense as well? We're gonna have our predictions coming out Thursday, but as you know, we like to do some over and unders and bold predictions. So, Ethan, how many total yards over? I'm put the over and under at rushing and throwing. I'm saying the over and under at 350 yards for Brennan Armstrong.
I think I'm going to take the under there. I think I'm going to take the under. I think I don't see him really scrambling for nearly 100 yards again after that. After the UConn game, if he does, it might actually be a bad sign for what's going on with NC State's offense.
All right, let me adjust the number. 300 yards.
Okay, 300. Okay. Yeah, I think I'll take the over there. I think NC State they are quite simply going to have to throw the ball. They're going to have to move the ball through the air, and they're going to have to create some explosive plays through the air. To be honest, Matt, I don't have a great idea of how that's going to happen on Saturday, but they have to. And I'm confident that Robert and I can scheme something up. And I thought, the receivers, when they had the ball in their hands, made some impressive plays. Specifically, I thought Casey looked great. Julian Gray I believe he had one catch, but it was a good one. And then Keon was the reliable guy we all thought he was going to be. So
I was going to say 116 yards after the catch for NC State against UConn, which is a very big number. There were a lot of nice initial moves to get by open field tacklers at UConn.
Exactly. And give me 250 passing yards by Armstrong and then 60 more rushing maybe. And we'll see what happens from there.
I'll take the under, but not by much. I think he'll get somewhere around 225 passing and about 50, 60, maybe 50 rushing. That doesn't mean I don't think NC State there are other ways to move the football. They have other running backs as well. I think for NC State, if you can get in the 350 to 400 range offensively of total yards, you're giving yourself a chance. Realistically, that's probably a realistic upside of what you could hope for in this game.
And if you get to that mark, I think it's reasonable to expect that the defense would play well enough to give you a shot to win the game.
All right. So I'm trying to think of some over and unders that'll be good here. Over and under Sam Hartman passing yards. I'm going to set it. You got to remember, this guy holds the ACC record for most career 300-yard passing games. And I think he has like 7 incomplete passes in 2 games this year. While not playing a lot of both games. Over and under 250 passing yards for Sam Hartman.
Over. I think he'll end up in the high 200 range, maybe low 300s. And then, I think they'll still get a lot of production through the running game as well.
Yeah. All right. It feels like Ethan predicting a tough day for the NC State defense. Right there, I'm going to go under. I think, because I think Notre Dame's going to commit to running the football. So, all right.
I'll throw one at you too. Over or under 1.5 interceptions for Sam Hartman.
I'll go under. I'll say he'll get 1, but just 1.
All right, I'm going over. I think he's going to challenge NC State's cornerbacks, and it's going to come back to bite him a couple times. I think Aiden White and Shaheen both get one.
Okay. Well, we're going to lead to my next question, bold prediction. You just made a bold prediction as the train's about to go by here at the offices of Coleman Publishing, division of On 3. Bold prediction. You gave me one, but give me another bold prediction besides Battle and White getting an interception.
I'd say that was probably my main bold prediction for the game.
Well,
but
you shouldn't have said it before I asked the question.
I'll add to it that I think Bradley Rosner will score a touchdown. I think his snap count will increase from last week, and I think he'll get on in the end zone. In-state will probably have one or two more red zone possessions, and I think maybe a nice little fade route to the end zone, corner of the end zone or something.
My bold prediction is that Armstrong will have 3 passes of over 20 yards.
That is a bold prediction.
Yeah. I mean, by 20 yards, I mean like downfield, not guys missing. I think the one-on-one matchup that Notre Dame wants to probably play might help out the receivers a little bit, getting more open downfield. So that's kind of my bold predictions. So, all right, Ethan, let's close this up on a recruiting note. NC State got a commitment from Jamar Boston, wide receiver from Westside High School in Anderson, South Carolina, on 3 industry ranking 3-star top 10 player in the state of South Carolina. I believe yesterday was his birthday, right?
It was.
Yep. So happy birthday, Jamar. Picked NC State over Virginia Tech. Maybe give a little rundown of what that means and what kind of prospect Jamar Boston is.
Yeah, so Jamar is the 3rd wide receiver commit of the class, and it's kind of works out nicely because his skill set complements the other 2 really well. Terrell Anderson, top 100 guy in the country, just a big physical outside receiver with some legit speed as well. And then you have Jonathan Paylor, who's 5'9" slot receiver, running back hybrid, who is just electric, just an electric athlete, really skilled and makes plays with the ball in his hands. So then you have Jamar, who can play inside or outside, has just like elite speed, and can just a versatile guy, put him anywhere on the offense. I almost kind of comped him to like a Julian Gray type player. And, all 3 of those guys are ranked 4 stars by at least one recruiting service. So, NC State's bringing some highly ranked guys in, and Jamar is someone who kind of emerged later over the summer as a target. And, the staff did a great job building that relationship with him and, making him comfortable enough to commit early and, go ahead and lock down his recruitment. And then he'll be back on campus this weekend. He'll be here for the Notre Dame game.
One more over and under to wrap up this podcast. 1.5 more wide receiver commits from the high school ranks in this class.
You know what? Give me the over.
All right.
Give me the over. There's 2 guys to keep an eye on, and I'll go ahead and tease to the message board on that one. We talk a lot about them on our Wolves Den message board and all over the Wolfpacker. There's 2 more wide receivers, exciting guys. One of them is a key local recruit. So, check out the website for that. I have the latest updates on both of their recruitments.
All right. We'll play this back in December and see if Ethan was right or wrong on this bold pick. So that'll do it for the Wolfpacker. So just a reminder real quick, please rate this podcast wherever you may download them or listen to them. If you're following on YouTube, watching this, be sure to hit the subscribe button for us. Also, you can find us on all your social media accounts, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or YouTube or Instagram. We are the Wolfpacker, and you can follow Ethan on Twitter as well, Ethan M. McDowell. And last but not least, Ethan just gave you a reason to sign up for the website. You can get it for half off for a year. So that's like a ridiculously good deal. Take advantage of it. Sign up. Join the website and see what Ethan was talking about. So, NC State, Notre Dame, noon Saturday. We'll be there full force. We'll have all the recaps and all the post-game coverage for you, analysis, the whole 9 yards, like we always do. at thewolfpacker.com. For Ethan, I'm Matt. This has been the Wolfpacker Show.